Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for this Industry Insights video. We're joined by Susan Dyster, who is a Senior Strategy Manager at BWD Strategic. And we're going to be talking about green buildings and the built environment in Australia. And we have a couple of questions we wanted to ask around industry trends. And the first trend, Susan, is around what do you believe are the most significant barriers to the growth of green buildings and built environments in Australia right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me along to talk to you about green buildings. Buildings and the built environment have significant environmental impacts. According to the World Green Building Council, they account for around 40% of global emissions, 50% of extracted materials, 33% of water consumption, and generate about 35% waste. So addressing that through green buildings and built environments is really important. The Green Building Council of Australia talks about green buildings as buildings that have design, construction, and operating practices that significantly reduce or eliminate the negative impact on the environment and its occupants. So when we talk about green buildings, we're actually talking about their environmental features, but also their impact on the well-being of the people who use them. And so in terms of those buildings, the barriers to green building growth and built environments in Australia differ actually for new buildings and existing buildings. So for new buildings, a key challenge is actually access to low emissions and low impact construction materials. We're talking there about things like low carbon concrete and steel, renewable fuels to power construction sites, and then the use of engineered timber and other wood products. So these are all excellent technologies that help us with green buildings, but access and availability varies across jurisdictions, and you'll find different planning rules in different states of Australia, and then also different uses of those materials in different countries around the world. The other aspect that's a challenge there is that those technologies are still developing. So wide adoption of low emissions concrete, for example, we're not there yet. And so we're keen to see those technologies develop here in Australia so that we can really see that green building growth really progress. So that's new buildings. And now for existing buildings, it's a different set of challenges. So that building's already constructed, its materials are baked into its structure. The challenge there is actually the cost to upgrade that building to today's environmentally sustainable standards. Often major building systems like water filtration and use, and heating, ventilation and cooling, or HVAC systems, they're major capital investments with a very long lifespan. So a system could be installed in a building and expected to continue working wonderfully for as long as 40 or 50 years. And so when it's time to make that major investment in upgrading that building, making that decision at the right time for the building owner is a key challenge there.
Fascinating. Thank you, Susan. What are some emerging trends in green buildings and built environments, and what factors are driving them?
Yeah, well, it's an exciting time in green buildings and built environments, and there's lots of interesting things and emerging trends happening at the moment. The first one, I think, is the use of technology in the actual design phase for new buildings. We're seeing increasing use of what's called a digital twin, which is effectively a digital simulation of the planned building. It's created in a digital environment in full. So its heating system, its water system, its material structures, they're all created in a digital environment. And those complex digital models are testing and refining exactly the plans to build that building. So really checking how much reinforcement steel do we need in concrete? How much concrete do we need? How would this window with a particular level of glazing work as opposed to another? And so in that digital environment, it's possible to really tweak and refine that building specification to deliver a really great environmental outcome without overusing or over-engineering material, putting too much steel in concrete just to be sure, for example. And it allows them to sort of also simulate those different materials with different embodied carbon impacts. So it allows you to try and reduce the emissions that go into the materials that make the building come out of the ground. So that's an exciting development, that digital space. Another really exciting one for new or existing buildings is actually around energy, and particularly the generation and storage of energy on site. There's a strong growth in Australia in the use of solar panels on commercial buildings particularly, as well as a strong uptake already in residential homes. We have more solar panels on houses in Australia than many other countries. Another of those less environmental and perhaps more experience-led is a focus on well-being for buildings and building occupants. And those green built environments, they're actually about more than environmental credentials, while they're very important. It's around providing space, particularly in commercial buildings, where people can balance their work and non-work life, where they might be able to take half an hour to sit quietly with their lunch and enjoy a nice garden or a rooftop or a space to sort of relax and refresh. And it's around that whole experience, not just that the air quality is good and that the daylight is all right, but that it actually is an enjoyable place to be.
Australia takes the lead on green buildings and built environments. And what do governments and industry need to actually get there?
It's a really exciting time, and it's a time that we need to take action collectively. The first one is Australian real estate is really strongly credentialed in sustainability, and it's a great opportunity to show the world how we can do this. Australian real estate is a competitive sector, and the bar is high in sustainability. Australian real estate companies have long been global sustainability leaders, and they're strong supporters and users of those green building certifications and initiatives to genuinely reduce the operating impact of buildings. And they are showing the world as well how in new constructions we can actually reduce some of those things right at the outset. The other great thing is that Australia is a place where there's a lot of innovative technology in the property space, really cool success stories of Australian companies in the building information systems space in particular, that are really helping organisations to fine-tune building performance literally minute by minute to make sure that any potential fluctuations in impact or leaks to water systems, that those things are really identified quick and addressed in a speedy way, so that any unexpected impacts are eliminated. That's a really exciting space right now as well. I think the other opportunity in the long term is that a green building is a more resilient building. They are ready for any future climate changes. They will continue to be comfortable, efficient buildings as the climate changes in the future. And for the real estate sector, the benefit of that is lasting financial returns. Those buildings can stand and be leased and be great places to work on the long-term basis. And for communities, it means that the schools you attend, the hospitals, workplaces, and community spaces are there for us to use and enjoy over the long term as well. It also is an interesting time because those who are looking to develop or improve green buildings and built environments are in a really good position to attract capital, to attract investment to fund those building projects. That includes the retrofitting, the upgrading of those existing buildings. And we've seen huge growth in recent years in sustainable finance. That is, investors who have a big bucket of money that they want to put to specific green building initiatives. There's over $700 billion worth of sustainable finance issued globally just in the first half of 2023. And something called a use of proceeds green bond, which connects the bond funding to a specific project, they are really popular around the world, and they're quite common in real estate. So you'll find investors who are wanting to improve the built environment to make it greener, looking for particular buildings in particular countries where they can support retrofitting, major upgrades, those sorts of initiatives. So it's great. We're seeing a high cost initiative that needs support and people wanting to support it really coming together in that way. So that gives a great opportunity to really convert that existing building stock into green buildings, which is very important for our future. And all buildings can be made to work more efficiently, to emit less carbon, and to have a lighter impact on the environment over the long term. We can all do it. The capital interest is there, so it's around making a plan and getting it happening.
That was truly fascinating, and so many considerations for our students to think about. It's really appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.